The soft sound of the piano filled the chapel. Everyone stood up as the wedding march began. The double doors slowly opened, revealing Imani Blake standing tall in her white lace gown. Her veil shimmered in the sunlight pouring through the stained glass. Her hands clutched a bouquet of cream roses. Her smile was shaky, but full of hope. This was it. Her moment. Beside her stood Malcolm Blake, her father. He hadn't always been there, but today he showed up. After years of absence, he promised he would walk her down the aisle. Imani believed him. She wanted to believe they could make up for lost time. She looked at him. "You ready, Daddy?" Malcolm didn't smile. He didn't even look at her. His jaw tightened. Then he took one step back. "I can't do this," he said, his voice low and flat. Imani froze. "What?" she asked, barely a whisper. "I said, I can't do this," he repeated, louder this time. His eyes avoided her. The music stopped. The room, once filled with warmth and love, turned cold. Guests gasped. Murmurs began. People craned their necks to see what was happening. Imani's heart dropped. "Daddy, what do you mean?" she asked, her voice trembling. "We practiced this. You said you would." Clarissa, Imani's mother, stood from the front pew. Her face was pale, lips pressed into a hard line. Aunt Yvette put a hand on her shoulder, trying to hold her back. Malcolm stepped away again, eyes still not meeting his daughter's. Imani's breath caught in her throat. Her hand reached out to him, but he didn't move. Daniel, her fiancé, stood waiting at the altar, confused. His brow furrowed. He glanced at the crowd, then at Imani, unsure if he should rush to her side or stay where he was. The silence stretched. Her bouquet began to shake in her hand. Her lips parted, but no words came. The pain in her chest was sharp. Humiliation, confusion, heartbreak, all crashing down at once. Then the chapel doors opened again. Every head turned. A man stepped through. Tall, older, dressed in a tailored gray suit. The light framed him like a figure out of a dream. It was Pastor John Matthews, but he wasn't supposed to enter yet. His presence was too early, too serious. He walked slowly toward Imani, his steps measured. In his hand, he held a folded letter. He stopped in front of her and gently held it out. "Imani," he said softly, "your father asked me to give this to you." She stared at the paper, then at the man she once called Dad, now retreating toward the side door. Her hands shook as she took the letter. "Why would he?" she whispered, mostly to herself. Pastor Matthews said nothing. His eyes were kind but heavy. Imani turned toward the aisle. Her dream of a perfect beginning now felt like the end of something much deeper. A hole opened in her heart. This wasn't about fear. This was about a truth buried so deep, it had the power to ruin everything. And whatever was written in that letter was about to tear her world apart. Imani Blake grew up in a quiet neighborhood in Atlanta. She was the only child of Clarissa and Malcolm Blake. Her mother, Clarissa, worked as a nurse, strong, protective, and full of love. Her father, Malcolm, was once a kind man, funny and full of energy. He used to lift her onto his shoulders and call her champ. But all that changed when Imani was 13. One night, Malcolm left the house and never came back. No note, no fight, no warning. Imani waited by the window for weeks. Clarissa tried to stay strong, but Imani could hear her crying at night when she thought no one was listening. After Malcolm disappeared, everything changed. Clarissa picked up double shifts to support them. Imani learned how to take care of herself. She became quiet, more serious. Trust became hard. Birthdays passed with no calls. School dances, no father-daughter pictures. It left a hole in her heart she never really talked about. As she grew up, Imani found comfort in organizing things, parties, school events, even family dinners. She was good at making things beautiful. That talent became her career. By 27, she had started her own event planning business. She was known for her calm under pressure, her attention to detail, and her kindness. That's how she met Daniel Reed. Daniel was tall, soft-spoken, with warm eyes and a quiet strength. He was a client at first, planning his sister's engagement party. But after weeks of working together, laughter turned into long talks, and long talks turned into love. He made her feel safe. They dated for 2 years before he proposed under a string of fairy lights, in a garden she thought she was decorating for someone else. It was a surprise proposal, one of the only moments in her life where she felt pure joy. He felt like a fresh start, a clean break from her past. But 6 months before the wedding, something unexpected happened. Malcolm reached out. He showed up at Imani's office one afternoon. She almost didn't recognize him. He looked older, worn down, but his eyes were the same. Her hands shook when she opened the door. "Hi, champ," he said, trying to smile. She didn't hug him. She couldn't. He said he wanted to be part of her life again. He said he had made mistakes, that he missed her. Imani didn't know what to believe. Part of her wanted to scream. Another part just wanted her dad back. They met for coffee. Then again. Slowly, she let him in, just a little. When he offered to walk her down the aisle, she hesitated. But she said yes. Clarissa was furious. "You don't owe that man anything," she said one night, pacing the kitchen. I just want to know what it feels like to have a father again, Imani replied. Clarissa turned away, her eyes filled with pain. You don't know the whole story. But every time Imani asked, Clarissa stayed silent. Some things are better left in the past, she would say. Aunt Yvette, Clarissa's sister, said the same thing. Let sleeping dogs lie. Still, Imani couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Daniel, too, started acting different. When she asked about his family, he'd go quiet. He said his parents were divorced and didn't talk much anymore. He never let her meet his mother. She's not well, he explained. As the wedding got closer, Imani tried to focus on the good. The dress, the flowers, the guests. But something heavy was sitting in her chest, a feeling she couldn't name. She had always been strong. But now, as her past came knocking and her future began to feel uncertain, she wasn't sure if love would be enough to hold it all together. Everything she had built, her business, her peace, her relationship, was balanced on something fragile. She just didn't know it was already starting to crack. 1 week before the wedding, Imani sat across from Malcolm at a quiet restaurant downtown. They had been meeting now and then, mostly small talk, trying to build something from broken pieces. But that day, she was ready for real answers. Why did you leave us? She asked softly, but her eyes were firm. No lies. Just tell me. Malcolm stared at his glass of water. He didn't speak for a long time. Finally, he said, Some truths are too heavy, Imani. I didn't leave because I didn't love you. Then why? She asked, her voice shaking. Why just disappear like that? You missed everything. My first heartbreak. My graduation. You left Mom to raise me alone. I was trying to protect you, he said, still not meeting her eyes. From what? But he didn't answer. That night, Imani went to see her Aunt Yvette. She was the only one who sometimes told the truth, even when it hurt. Auntie, Imani said, sitting on her couch. What really happened with Dad? And why does Mom act like he's poison? Yvette sighed. Baby girl, there are things you don't need to know right now. I'm about to marry the love of my life. I have the right to know what kind of mess I'm walking into, Imani said, voice raised. Yvette looked away for a moment, then said something strange. You know Daniel's mother. She and your father used to be close. Too close. Imani's eyebrows pulled together. What do you mean? But Yvette quickly shook her head. Forget I said anything. Imani didn't forget. That night, she asked Daniel directly. Why haven't I met your mom? We're getting married in a week. Daniel stiffened. She's not well, he said again. You know that. She can't even make a phone call. He looked away. It's complicated. Everything is starting to feel complicated, Imani said. Her voice was flat now. He tried to pull her into a hug, but she stepped back. Are you hiding something from me? No, he said quickly, but the way he said it made her stomach twist. The next day, Imani went to Clarissa. Mom, did Dad have anything going on with Daniel's mom? Clarissa went completely still. That's none of your business, she said coldly. I'm making it my business, Imani replied. I'm marrying Daniel next week. I need to know if there's something I don't see. Clarissa didn't speak. Imani stepped closer. Tell me the truth. But Clarissa just shook her head and walked out of the room. Imani stood there, feeling like a child again, confused, shut out, full of questions no one wanted to answer. Later that night, she received a message from Pastor Matthew. Just one line. Can we meet tomorrow? There's something you should know before your wedding. Imani's heart pounded. She read the message over and over. That moment changed everything. The questions she had been avoiding were now staring her in the face. No one was telling her the full story, but clearly there was one. And something inside her told her it wasn't just about old mistakes. It was about the man she was about to marry, and who she really was. Imani couldn't sleep. Her mind was racing. Every word, every look from the past few days felt different now. Something was wrong, deeply wrong. The next morning, she sat across from Clarissa at the kitchen table. The air was tense. Clarissa was stirring her tea, not meeting her daughter's eye. Mom, I need you to tell me the truth, Imani said. What happened between Dad and Daniel's mom? Clarissa stopped stirring. You've been avoiding this since I asked. Why? What are you hiding? Clarissa sighed but said nothing. Imani's voice rose. You're my mother. I'm about to marry this man, and something's not right. You know it. I can feel it. Clarissa finally looked up, her face calm but her eyes tired. Imani, sometimes the truth doesn't fix anything. It just hurts. I'd rather be hurt by the truth than live inside a lie. Clarissa stood up slowly. You think you're ready, but you're not. She walked out, leaving her tea untouched. Later that day, Imani tried talking to Daniel again. She had hoped things would feel normal, but instead, he felt even more distant. He was answering with short sentences. No warmth. No eye contact. What's going on with you? She asked. You've been acting strange. I'm just tired, he mumbled. No, you're hiding something. He looked away. I don't want to ruin what we have. Her voice cracked. Then tell me what's real. Daniel didn't answer. He just said, please, let's just get through the wedding. Imani's heart sank. That wasn't love. That was fear. She knew she couldn't trust anyone now except herself. So she called Malcolm. They met in a quiet park. Imani sat on the bench, arms crossed. Malcolm looked older than she remembered, even older than just a few days ago. He sat beside her, silent. "Tell me the truth," she said. "What happened between you and Daniel's mom?" Malcolm looked away. "It's complicated, then uncomplicated." He sighed. "It was a long time ago, Imani. Before you were born. We were close." "Close how?" He hesitated. "We were in love, but I chose your mother. Things got messy." Imani's breath caught. "Are you saying you cheated?" He didn't answer. He just looked down. "Is Daniel your son?" she asked quietly. Malcolm's head snapped up. "No, it's not that simple. But he might be?" "I don't know," Malcolm said, his voice tight. "I don't know for sure." "Why didn't you say anything before?" she asked. "I wanted to. I almost did. But you looked so happy. And I thought, maybe it's not true. Maybe I'm just being paranoid." Imani stood up, shaking her head. "You had years to say something. You waited until I was in a white dress." "I didn't want to ruin your life," Malcolm said. "I already ruined so much." "But you might have let me marry my own brother," she snapped. He flinched. "I don't know if he is," Malcolm whispered. Imani turned away. "I can't believe this." She left without looking back. Later that night, Malcolm showed up at Clarissa's house. She let him in but barely spoke. "We need to talk," he said. Clarissa sat down, arms folded. "You already ruined the moment she waited for her whole life. I tried to stop it without telling her. She's going to find out, Malcolm. She's digging. She asked if Daniel's my son," he said, rubbing his face. "I couldn't lie anymore." Clarissa shook her head. "You were weak then, and you're weak now." "I didn't know she was pregnant," Malcolm said, voice cracking. "She never told me." "She told me," Clarissa replied. "Right after you left." Malcolm looked stunned. "She called me. Said she had your child. I told her to stay away. That Imani deserved peace. I begged her not to destroy what was left of my family." Malcolm looked broken. "I thought if Imani never knew," Clarissa whispered, "she'd be safe. And now," Clarissa wiped a tear from her eye. "Now I see she was never safe. She's just been walking straight into our old mess, thinking it's love." The two sat in silence, weighed down by guilt and time. Meanwhile, Imani sat in her apartment, looking at old photos. Her hands shook. Every smile from Daniel felt different now. Every hug, every kiss, it all seemed like it might have been a lie. The next morning, she stared at herself in the mirror. Her wedding dress hung in the corner of the room. She didn't know if she could wear it. The truth wasn't clear yet, but her heart already felt broken, and her wedding was only days away. The sun rose on Imani's wedding day, but everything felt wrong. Her dress was laid out. The flowers had arrived. Guests were already gathering, but her chest felt heavy, like she was about to walk into something she couldn't undo. She stood in front of the mirror in her bridal suite, staring at her reflection. Her eyes were tired. Her smile wouldn't come. Aunt Yvette walked in, carrying a small bag and trying to smile. "You look beautiful," she said gently. Imani didn't respond. Yvette sat down beside her. "Baby, if you don't want to do this, you don't have to. You have every right to say no." Imani shook her head. "I just want the truth. That's all I've ever wanted." A knock on the door. It was Pastor Matthews. He stepped in, holding an envelope in his hand. "I wasn't supposed to come in yet," he said softly, "but your father gave me this. He wanted you to read it before the ceremony." Imani took the envelope slowly, her fingers trembling. "What is it?" He said, "It's the truth. Everything." She opened it. Her heart pounded. Inside was a handwritten letter. The words were shaky but clear. "Imani, I never meant to destroy your life. Years ago, before you were born, I was in a relationship with Daniel's mother. We were serious, but I left her for your mother. It wasn't clean. There was pain, anger, and things left unsaid. What I didn't know was that Daniel's mother was pregnant when I left. She never told me until years later. I didn't believe her at first. I thought she was trying to hurt me. But when I saw Daniel a few months ago, I saw myself in his face, and I couldn't ignore it anymore. I still don't know for sure. No test. No answers. Just a feeling I can't shake. I didn't tell you because I didn't want to break your heart. But now I see I've done it anyway. I'm sorry, champ. Dad." Imani dropped the letter. Her hands covered her mouth as she gasped. Aunt Yvette picked it up and read silently. Her face dropped. "No," Imani whispered. "No. This can't be real." Tears filled her eyes. She stood up, her veil falling off her shoulders. He knew. Daniel knew. That's why he's been acting strange. She rushed out of the room. Clarissa was in the hallway, arguing with someone on the phone. Imani stormed up to her. "You knew too," she said. "Didn't you?" Clarissa froze. "Didn't you?" Imani screamed. Clarissa closed her eyes. "Yes." Imani stepped back like she'd been slapped. "Why would you let me get this far? Why would you let me fall in love with him?" "I was trying to protect you," Clarissa whispered. "By lying to me? By letting me plan a wedding to someone who might be my brother." Clarissa's eyes filled with tears. We didn't know for sure. But you thought it was possible, Imani said, voice hard. Clarissa nodded slowly. That was enough. Imani turned and walked away. Down the stairs, through the hall, into the chapel. The music had already started. Daniel stood at the altar, smiling nervously. Then he saw her face. He knew. She walked straight up to him. Everyone was watching. The whole room went silent. You knew, she said. Not a question. A statement. Daniel's face fell. Imani, please. You knew, she repeated louder. That Malcolm might be your father. That we might be related. And you still wanted to marry me. Daniel looked helpless. I didn't want to lose you. I thought maybe it wasn't true. I didn't know what to believe. But you didn't stop. You didn't even try to find out. I love you, he said. I still do. Imani shook her head, eyes full of tears. You should have told me. The room was dead quiet. The guests were frozen. No one moved. Imani took off her engagement ring. She held it out to him. I can't do this. Daniel didn't take the ring. His hands were shaking. I'm sorry, he whispered. Imani turned away, her heart shattered, but her steps steady. She walked alone out of the chapel, past the flowers, past the shocked guests, and out into the light. Weeks passed since the wedding that never happened. Imani stayed in her apartment, curtains drawn most days, phone off. She didn't want to talk to anyone. Her heart felt broken in ways she couldn't explain. One afternoon, she sat across from a therapist in a quiet office. The walls were soft blue, calming. Imani clutched a tissue in her hand. I feel like I don't know who I am anymore, she said. Everything I believed was real wasn't. The therapist nodded gently. That's a normal feeling after betrayal. You're grieving, not just a relationship, but your sense of truth. Imani wiped her eyes. I just want to feel like myself again. Every week, she went back. Every week, she spoke more. The weight began to lift slowly. She blocked Daniel's number, deleted their pictures, packed away the dress. It hurt, but she knew it was the only way to move forward. One day, Clarissa showed up at her door. Imani didn't answer at first, but after a minute, she opened it. Clarissa looked tired, holding a box of Imani's childhood. I'm sorry, she said softly, for keeping the truth from you. Imani didn't speak. I thought I was doing the right thing, Clarissa continued. But I see now. I made it worse. I needed you to be honest, Imani whispered. I know. They sat on the couch together. No more yelling. Just quiet. I forgive you, Imani said. But I need time. Clarissa nodded. Later that week, Imani made a decision. She walked into her office, looked around at all the wedding boards, the fabric samples, the photos of happy couples, and she knew she was done. She called her assistant and handed over the keys. I'm closing this chapter. What will you do now? The assistant asked. Imani smiled for the first time in weeks. I'm starting something new. She used her savings to launch a small nonprofit, a space for women like her, women dealing with family secrets, betrayal, and deep emotional pain. She called it New Roots. The first support group had only 5 women, but their stories were raw, powerful. Imani sat in the circle with them, listening, sharing, healing. She wasn't alone anymore. One evening, she got a letter in the mail. It was from Malcolm. He asked to meet. He said he understood if she said no. She stared at the note for a long time. Then she wrote back. Maybe one day, but not yet. And that was enough for now. Imani stood by the window, looking out at the city lights. Her past would always be a part of her, but it didn't have to define. Months later, the chapel stood quiet and empty. Dust floated in the sunlight coming through the stained glass windows. Rows of wooden benches stretched out, untouched. The air smelled faintly of old flowers and wood polish. Imani stepped inside alone. She wasn't wearing a dress this time, just jeans, sneakers, and a soft gray sweater. No bouquet. No music. Just silence. She stood at the door for a moment, looking down the aisle. The same aisle where everything fell apart. The place where her heart had almost shattered in front of everyone. Slowly, she started walking. Her steps were steady. Her hands relaxed by her side. Her face calm. There was no one watching. No crowd. No pressure. Just her. When she reached the front, she stood still. She looked around at the quiet space, then up at the soft light pouring in. She smiled, not a big smile, but a real one. A voice played in her head, clear and strong. Some people give you away without saying a word. But walking yourself forward? That's power. She closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and walked out the doors alone, but not empty. She was free. Fade to black. Hey besties, if you made it this far, you're the real MVP. Don't forget to like, drop a comment, share with your people, and of course, subscribe for more stories like this. Love you, bye.